if you have ever felt like you are addicted to someone, you know they are bad for you, but you just can't seem to leave them. It's one of those situations where in my coaching practice is to say, I know he's bad for me, but I don't know how to stop loving him. Then this video might be for you. In today's video, we are talking about unhealthy connections that feel like love, but in reality, it's actually you being trapped in a situationship that actually isn't healthy for you, that you still cannot disconnect yourself from. And if you recognize yourself from these signs, then please stay tuned to the end of the video because I have a resource that I believe will really be helpful to you. So without further ado, let's begin today's video. Sign number 1, you feel addicted to the chaos and not the person. Some of us find relationships that are healthy and safe, we find them boring. We find relationships that aren't full of ups and downs and highs and lows and dramas and fighting. We find those quite just lacking in a little bit of, action. And so some of us may even go as far as creating problems when things are safe and healthy and balanced. We look for situations to create an issue so that we're back into the chaos that we are used to. That is because some of us have come from backgrounds where we are used to relationships that involve chaos. That is what feels natural to us. That is what feels normal to us. As I describe some of these things, I don't want you guys to think I'm not consciously choosing chaos. I don't want drama every day. I want peace. Of course you do. That is at least what your logic mind is telling you that you want, right? But your subconscious mind, which is a deeper layer of mind that you don't necessarily always have access to, meaning that you're not exactly choosing to say, today I want to create a fight. You just find yourself in consistent arguments, consistent fights. You're picking up on certain things that aren't even an issue, and you're creating drama out of these things and blowing them up because you are used to chaos. Right? And this is one of the things that get us involved in trauma bonding because chaos feels familiar. So we search relationships that include chaos, that include highs and lows. So we fight, we have a big fight, and then we kind of figure a way to make it work. And then we're back down to we love each other and we want each other back again. And then soon enough, someone doesn't do the dishes, whatever the little thing is, we're back into chaos again. That pattern feels very familiar to some of us. And so some of us really, that is what we crave. We crave the chaos. We're not necessarily in love with the person, because if the person that we are therefore in a relationship with is a very secure, very healthy, very safe person, we might find being with them boring. Okay, and I'm not saying this person is boring because they don't like to go out, they don't like to do activities, they don't like to laugh, they don't like to be playful. No, we may find safe relationships boring because they lack that high and low intensity. Right? And so this is not a sign of true healthy love. This is a sign of, or could be, a trauma bond that is forming here, because that high and low is an addiction. It can become an addiction very quickly, and it gets us trapped in a relationship where we feel like, well, deep inside we love them, even though we know they're not good for us, but we're not able to get ourselves out of it. So that is the first sign that you may be involved in a trauma bond, and it's not actually love. Is if you're finding safe and healthy relationships a bit boring, and you feel like one way or another you always seem to create drama, you always seem to create arguments, you always seem to create problems whenever things are too safe for too long. I know I'm talking to someone out there when it's like you've been in a relationship for some time and you're like, we don't even fight, we don't even argue about anything. Like, something's wrong. Right? Why? Because our expectation is that in relationships that we should be always be fighting all the time. And especially some women love saying that they are bored in this type of relationships. Like, oh, so boring, I'm bored in this relationship, I need some excitement, give me something. But then if you look at the track record of all of the men who gave you quote unquote excitement, none of them were healthy for you, none of them were actually good for you. So why is it that you are craving that? Because again, on a subconscious level, you actually value the chaos. You prefer the chaos because it's familiar, not because it's good for you. You prefer that over something safe. Something safe and something calm, something healthy feels unfamiliar. And naturally, as human beings, we like sameness. We don't like things that feel unfamiliar. They tend to make us feel uncomfortable. Change makes us feel uncomfortable. Different makes us feel uncomfortable by our nature. And so that is one of the key signs. Now I have to emphasize, this isn't love. This is your nervous system being used to adrenaline and stress hormones. And so every time you stray too far away from that, it's trying to bring you back into that. Adrenaline and stress hormones tend to be high in individuals who are in relationships that are filled with chaos, that are filled with a lot of highs and lows. And so if you are used to that, your body, your brain, your mind will always try to take you back to what is normal for you, even though it may not be healthy for you. Sign number 2, you stay because leaving feels impossible, not because you necessarily want to stay, right? Some of us stay in relationships because it's like, I know I would want to leave. I know this relationship isn't healthy for me, but leaving is just impossible. I couldn't do it. I know it will break me. And then, especially for us Muslims, we try to rationalize it by actually playing the martyr, right? We try to play, well, maybe I'm the one that's sent to save this person from their issues. Maybe Allah is using me to save them. So maybe if I can just bear all of this with sabr, that is going to be my means to Jannah. The amount of time I've heard women say this is just like, well, what if this is just my means to Jannah? If I can suffer this and I this is just what I'm supposed to suffer. This is one of my tests. This is something I need to pass. So I need to stay here no matter how much this relationship is damaging me. And when I say relationship, I don't just mean like relationship between yourself and your spouse. This could mean relationship between yourself and your parents, a relationship between yourself and your siblings, relationships with friends, colleagues, anyone, right? Sometimes we are so scared of leaving because we cannot even begin to see a life outside of us not staying in that relationship. Like that relationship, no matter how chaos that is, right? We don't even want to create boundaries. We don't even want to put in healthy boundaries. We don't want anything to change because we are so afraid that if we lose that relationship, then we are going to basically just break down and we're not going to have anything left. One of the signs that can maybe show that a person is in this state is if you ask them, why are you in this relationship? And they are struggling to find a positive reason to say why they are actually in this relationship. That could be a sign that you are staying because leaving feels impossible. Some of us, just the thoughts, the idea that we could be separated from those who are harming us causes so much anxiety. We start thinking about what are other people going to say. The world is going to judge me. Then I'm going to be exposed to even worse, right? So let me just stay here because at least this is familiar, because the thought that there could ever be anything even better doesn't exist. It's either this or even worse than this, right? And you can see where someone's mental health is when the only two things they have to compare is something bad is with something even worse, when there isn't a possibility in their mind of something better. You can tell someone is in a mentally healthy space where they can see a balance and a realistic possibility that better could also exist, right? Because Islam is about hope, a balance of hope and fear. It isn't one extreme versus another. It's a balance of the two. So whilst we know that, yes, there could be people who may treat us worse than this in life, we also know that there's got to be people who can possibly also treat us better, right? And a healthy mind can balance between the two, right? But when you are trapped in this and you're feeling like it's this or nothing, you don't see the possibility of something better. All you see is it's got to be this or there's, otherwise I'm going to be facing even worse, okay? In genuine relationships, we stay with the people that we love because we enjoy being with them. Because as much as they may have their flaws, their good outweighs their flaws, at least to us in our eyes. And we can give real life benefits that they bring to us by being a part of our lives. And we really appreciate that. So it's a genuine thing, and it's also a reciprocal thing, right? So the love that we give, we feel some way is being exchanged. The care that we give, we feel some way is being exchanged. So it feels fair. It's not that we're staying because there's no other alternative or because the other alternatives are worst case scenarios. That mentality kind of just shows that your sense of hope has been diminished, really. And I'm not surprised when you're stuck in really harmful relationships. You don't really have much to hold on to in terms of hope. So it's absolutely understandable, but that can be another sign. The third sign is that you confuse intensity with intimacy, right? When it comes to trauma bonds, the relationships can have, as I've said before, a lot of highs and lows. So you may have explosive fights, and then you have and then you have intensive, passionate love making to kind of like make up again, or the person then starts love bombing you again to make up for this intense argument, fight, situationship that you just came out of. And so you just float in between those two intense highs and intense making up and kind of trying to fix up the relationship. Healthy relationships are not like this, and this is unlike healthy relationships. Healthy relationships and intimacy, you actually create intimacy through the feeling of safety, emotional vulnerability, and the ability to be yourself. You are not finding yourself walking on eggshells in healthy relationships. And I'm well aware, guys, as I'm filming this video, that some of these things that I'm saying might just feel so alien to some people. It's like your logical mind knows, yeah, this must be the case. But a lot of people don't actually even believe that relationships like this exist. And they do exist. You can have safety, vulnerability, and the ability to be yourself, and it's accepted in relationships. It does exist. But I'm aware that it might feel very foreign to a lot of people based on their own experiences, right? But the goal with this video is to be able to help you differentiate that intensity is not intimacy. Intimacy is different. And this is one of the things that I will be covering when we have our retreat. I'm going to be doing a retreat with the ladies in my femininity group, inshallah, next year. And we're going to be discussing healthy communication and vulnerability, and how to create vulnerability in relationships and make it safe and healthy is one of the things that I'm going to be teaching. So if you're interested in that, I still have a few spaces left. You can email me about how you can join us on that retreat. It's not going to be an online retreat. It's going to be an in-person retreat, and inshallah it's going to be happening in Morocco. But going back to my points, ladies, intensity is very different. Intensity is very different from intimacy. And what you want to experience in healthy relationship is intimacy, not just intensity. So intensity is quite unhealthy, ladies. If you're finding yourself having massive arguments and massive blow-ups, massive explosive fights, and then you are also having, these intentional, compassionate, just complete loving on each other, and then before you know it, you're back into the cycle again, all the way up top there. This is an unhealthy cycle. This is not a healthy cycle. This is not what healthy relationships look like. If you are experiencing this, there is a good chance that you are in a trauma bond and you are not actually in love. Number 4, you constantly find yourself defending this person. Now, going back to my point about what us Muslims especially like to do is we like to make this about, oh, this is how we're going to attain Jannah. The more we suffer, the more Allah is going to give us Jannah. And that is the only way we can think of attaining Allah's love, is by us suffering. So we make this okay by telling ourselves this is how God is going to love us and this is how he's going to give us heaven. And sometimes Allah is showing us all of the signs to tell us, get out of this, I don't want this for you. But we refuse and we put our blinders on and we're just like, no, we're gonna stay here, and through this we are going to attain Jannah. I need you to wake up. If Allah is showing you all of the signs that this is not good for you, sister, please, brother, please, whoever you are watching this, I need you to wake up, and I need you to try to build the courage to get yourself out of terrible and bad relationships. It doesn't have to be that way. There can be a positive alternative, okay, that is good for the both people involved. You don't have to keep suffering as a way of you attaining good. There are multiple ways to enter Jannah, and it's not just you suffering on behalf of someone or taking somebody else's baggage and making it out that Allah will somehow grant you Jannah that way. You don't know that. If something is harmful to us, we are to try to get ourselves out of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, even with tests, that you should seek help with sabr and salah. Right? And part of sabr isn't staying and just putting up with things that are bad for us. Part of sabr is actually the effort that is required to get ourselves out of that bad situation. Okay? So number 4, you make excuses for their bad behaviors. This is another sign of a trauma bond. When it comes to healthy love, you don't feel like you need to be somebody else's attorney. You don't take responsibilities for stuff that isn't yours to take. You let people carry their own responsibilities, because that's what mature and healthy people do. They carry their own responsibilities. But when it comes to a trauma bond, Women or men may find themselves making excuses for their partners, constantly making excuses. And again, I know in Islam we're supposed to like make 1,010,000 different excuses for our brother and sister before we blame them, but you need to look at the pattern of behavior, and you need to sometimes allow somebody else carry the weight of their own actions, because that is what is going to be required for them to actually realize that what they're doing is wrong and for them to begin to change. A person cannot change if they don't even see anything wrong in what they are doing. So that part is very, very important. And oftentimes in trauma bond type relationships and love, you find that one person consistently makes excuse for the other person's bad behavior, or they were stressed, or I triggered him, that's why he did that to me, or he had a bad childhood and it's because of what he experienced, and so on and so forth. But for every excuse you create, you can also find a different alternative, right? It's like two people who may have grown up in really bad environments, and one person chooses a different path in life that leads them to success, and another person chooses a bad path in life. They both had the same circumstances, but the choices were different, and so it led them a different way. So the excuses need to stop. You need to allow someone to begin to carry their own responsibility for their behavior. You need to hold people accountable for their behavior. As painful as that might be, we do need to hold people accountable for their behavior, but perhaps you need to do it with the help of someone else, with the help of a therapist, with the help of a coach, like I help a lot of my sisters who come into my practice to be able to do, so that we can do it in a healthy way that doesn't damage the relationship further, especially if it's a relationship with like a parent. That's a very sensitive relationship. We need to be careful how we go about doing that, so you're not continuously holding on to the pain and then going nowhere with it, right? But it is important that we stop making excuses for other people's bad behavior, especially if they have shown us consistency with bad behavior. It gets to a point where they have to take ownership and responsibility for what they do and the impact of what they do. The last sign is that you feel like you need to save them or that you need to fix them, and that is you that has been assigned this task to save them and to fix them. If you feel this way, this is not love. Again, genuine love is reciprocal. It's not one person going in to be the the person on the rescue mission to come and save somebody else from themselves. A lot of the time, as much as we have good intention and goodwill to help people to change, nothing is going to happen until they decide to change. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in his mightiness and greatness, even he does not change the condition of a people until they change what is inside of them, what is within them. When they change what is within them, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes everything else for them. Meaning that it begins with self, and we have to allow other people, we have to give them the grace to go through their own journeys. There's work that you cannot do for someone else. They have to decide that they want to do it, and they have to go ahead and do that piece of work. So if you are feeling like you are in this relationship to be the quote unquote savior, the best you can do, I would say in my opinion, to save someone is guide them to where there is help and make dua for them. Make dua for them, because there's a lot about what they need, the supports, the help that they need that you can't do for them, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can definitely help them to be able to fix, right? Because he's the one who owns the hearts. But at the same time, there's also work that they have to do. They have to change themselves. So please, guys, stop with this thing of it's my role to save everybody else. It's not. People have to do their own work. I don't care if it's your sister, I don't care if it's your brother, your mom, your dad, your spouse. You cannot save anyone. All you can do is you best advise, you make dua for them, and you guide them to where you know help may be. Now, on this topic of guidance, if you have found that you relate to most, if not all, of the signs that I've mentioned in today's video, I would like to recommend to you that I offer a program called Rebuilding Me. I have one of the group programs which is about heartbreak in love, right? But then you can also work one-on-one with me to deal with whatever you feel may have broken you inside, made you turn into this type of a woman who's now trauma bonded. You can work one-on-one with me, and we can work towards getting you to a healed place where you are now opening up yourself and receiving healthy love versus this trauma bond. So if you are interested in that program, leave me a message via my website. I will leave the link in the description box down below for you to contact me, or you can book a one-to-one session with me if that is something that is more financially viable for you. You can do that also. But I do offer help with healing these issues so that you can have healthy relationships. My goal is to help high achieving women and just women who love Dean in general to be able to have healthy and thriving relationships and not to have to compromise their own well-being for that. So ladies, I really hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you have enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you share this video in any kind of sister women group that you may know, because other women may really also benefit from the content of today's video, because I feel like a lot of women who are in situationships and bad relationships sometimes don't know until someone has actually pointed out that some of these things are not healthy. So let's do well to share that with others. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any more to add, please make sure you add your comments in the comment section down below, and I will see you in my next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.